Hi everyone, my name is Will Hurd. I'm the founder of Hurd by Hurd LLC and the director of sound at P1 Gaming. And I'm here today to talk about some of the skills that I've learned during my time as director of sound in terms of project management. Let's take a look. Now, before we get into the specifics of some of the practices I've used in project management, I do want to first talk about P1 Gaming and what we're kind of all about. P1 Gaming is an open collective comprised of volunteers and game development enthusiasts seeking to discover a people-first metaverse in which community and collaboration is prioritized over monetary incentives. Now, that may sound like a lot at first, but in reality, we're just a group of game enthusiasts building a video game. This game, known as Sky Jellies, aims to prove one of two things. First, that a game can be made in an open collective environment. Secondly, we want to prove that AI training can be implemented inside of a video game. If you'd like to learn more about our group, I've linked the homepage to our website in the description. Now, when I first joined P1, I was sort of under the impression that there were going to be some other members of the sound team that I could learn from and grow with. However, that was not the case. Everyone from the sound team had just recently left, and I was the only member on that team. I was handed this sort of half-finished Wise and Unity project with almost no documentation and pretty much zero clue of kind of what was going on with the project. The project lacked any sort of organization or structure. If this system of the Open Collective was going to serve as the framework for game dev teams in the future, it was clear to me that the entire sound team needed an overhaul. So I came up with 3 goals: organization, comprehensibility, and effective workflow. It's important to note that the reason I was setting up these goals was so that this project could continue on in the future should I ever leave the group. I wanted to create a system where newcomers on our team didn't necessarily feel drowned out by the onboarding process and they could quickly get to work. In order to hit the first goal of organization, I needed to achieve 2 things. First, I needed consistent language and naming conventions so that people new to the project could quickly understand where we were coming from and what we were working on. I mean, just look at how some of these old assets were named. We have per, we. Yeah, not gonna work. Secondly, I needed a set of guidelines for members to follow in Wise and Unity. For the language and naming conventions, I decided to use something called BEM notation, which is block element modifier notation. Now, there's definitely some specific code applications that you can apply this notation to. However, I didn't want to get too caught up with it, as I was just looking for a starting place to name our assets. As for our Wise and Unity projects, I decided to break up the assets into 6 different buckets. Sounds associated with the player, the creatures, also known as jellies, any sounds related to user interface, environmental sounds, the interactive music within the game, and a miscellaneous bucket for anything that I might have missed. Now, you can see in the bottom right over here an example of the BEM notation and what one of our assets might look like. Now, in terms of comprehensibility, I wanted to create a system where minimal coding was required, and if there was code, I wanted it to be documented and explained in detail. This involved the creation of a document tracking some of our assets within the game. As you can see, there's the associated assets tied to the different game events, what kind of container they are, different game syncs that are linked to it, share sets, just general notes, number of variations, and sort of like a progress tracker in terms of where we were at in building the sound effect, implementing it in Wise, and then eventually implementing it in Unity. From the project I inherited, the sounds are being triggered via hard code. So within here, they have the specific event typed out. This doesn't provide for great interchangeability, and also made it really difficult to search for specific game events. I also wanted to create a standardized file structure for our sound assets. This would include things like file type, output levels, mono versus stereo, etc. I placed these guidelines on a Trello board and highlighted some of our standards that we wanted to uphold. More about this Trello board in a little bit. We also needed clear instructions on getting set up with our team in order to start working quickly. This involved creating some tutorials in Wise, Unity, and GitHub. I also went ahead and gave some brief overviews of the different softwares and some steps on how to gain access to our project. This was critical for getting new people onto our team without wasting a bunch of time in the onboarding process. Next, for effective workflow, I needed a system for tracking assets from the very first idea of a sound to the full implementation in Unity. This is where the Scrum and Agile workflows work in, such as Trello and Miro. It allowed us to consistently check our progress against self-set deadlines. Lastly, I needed a team. I created this job posting on LinkedIn to try and recruit some sound effect artists, composers, and technical implementation specialists. Currently, we have 22 members who regularly show up for the sound team, and it continues to grow every day. Overall, I really just wanted to create a system that was easy to follow and pick up quickly. I wanted something that would last longer than my time at P1 and would hopefully be adopted by groups in the future. If you'd like to learn more about some of the specific implementation methods I used in Wise and Unity, I'll have a video for that in the future. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.